Hello everybody, my name is Jamie and I'm here to sort of tell about my new project, right? On this channel I've sort of started a few projects I'm sort of slowly getting my way through. This is more related to a locomotive this time. One of the things I've always wanted is a GS series locomotive. I've talked about it in a few videos that, this Christmas I am hoping to be able to get a daylight locomotive. And maybe some really nice passenger cars. The passenger cars are going to be quite difficult just for the nature of, at the moment, nobody really makes them apart from the Walters mainline ones. And I'm not really wanting those since I really do want more of the Broadway limited ones. So it's going to be a pain to find. However, that's not really going to stop me from trying to get a nice set of Southern Pacific coaches. So, what do we have in front of us? What we have is a GS5. There is your... God, I can never remember what parts of an engine are called. Boiler cover, I guess? I can't remember. But basically, this is a GS5. There's no real difference between the GS5 and the GS4, just that they... it's basically roller bearings in the GS5, and I can't remember what's in the GS4, but basically no roller bearing. You can tell because on the GS4, on this model, it's got the roller bearings, so that's correct. However, I'm going to be repainting this, not to the daylight colors, but to the, I believe it's called 4434, a GS4. Even though, yes, it's not technically correct because this is a GS5. Why am I doing this? So, some of you might have already noticed that 4463, that's a GS6 number, and you are very much correct. So, I'm not sure who did the actual painting and all that. Look, the painting is actually pretty solid. However, I can't tell who screwed up. I can't tell if it's Sunset Models, back in 1989 or something like that, or if it's a person who bought this. I have a feeling it's the person who bought this because there's no indication, that it was painted out of the factory. So, what are we gonna do for a start? So, I'm gonna be repainting this, and I am also gonna be installing DCC. Now, I'm also going to be making this a little bit extra difficult because I am also going to be fitting lights, sound, and all that. I'm not going to really be bothering with steam. I don't really care for it. In all my Broadway limited models, A, it doesn't either work, or B, if it works, I think it looks terrible, personally. It also sounds really annoying. Even with the sound on, you can still hear it, and it's just like, if I wanted a failed motor, I'd, just go down to a car park, I'm sorry. Yeah. Overall, I've just got no interest in sort of the smoke and all that. However, I am pretty excited for this, because this is my first proper brass model. I have had the brass hybrid Broadway ones. They're pretty cool, honestly. My NYC Hudson, how do I put it? So, like when you look at a steam loco and you just go, I want that one. Yeah, that was it for me. I paid the money, and honestly, it is one of my favorite locomotives just for stereo. I'm actually trying to get some of the MTH coaches, so I am working on that, and surprisingly, I've managed to lay by a couple of the MTH 1938 sets, so that it will look simply amazing with my Hudson there. But anyway, back to the GS. I feel like I'm going a bit off topic here. So, I've got a Decoda Buddy, so it's here, and we are also going to be fitting it with LEDs. For the Mars light effect and for the headlight. So this is going to be pretty much, to me, my equivalent of a Broadway model. Now, I know this is probably going to cost as much overall as just me buying a Broadway model. I fully accept that. However, I am happy that at least I've got something, a bit of experience just to get one of these, because as some of you who may be sort of into Steam, especially more into Steam, there are specific models which just aren't, in a plastic ready to run sort of things, or even coaches, for example. It's just sucky, but there's not much you can do about it, right? So that's something I definitely want to be working on there. Just sort of use this as a test bed for my painting skills and my ability to sort of DCC a brass locomotive. Just simply because I want to get into more Southern Pacific Steam, and really, apart from like a lot of the USRA ones, you're not really going to have an opportunity to sort of do that. So one of the things I will say is, looking at the shell, it is a ton. As you can see, that is all just lead, and it just goes all the way down to basically here. So in terms of tractive effort, you're going to really be able to pull, I think, a 14 car set easily with this one. The only problem is I got no space to run a 14 car daylight set, so that's kind of irrelevant here. Same with the tender. It's basically like any other tender that you'd get from either Broadway and all that. It's actually pretty empty, so I'm going to be using that space for the Decoda, and that's actually where it's going to get a little bit more painful. So as part of me installing DCC and me installing in the tender, it does mean that I will have to be cutting a small hole in the tender just to allow me to put that. I'm sure some purist is going to say don't do that, but it's my engine, I can do whatever I want. The other thing is I'm not going to be doing this in daylight, simply because as much as I do have confidence in doing paint jobs on tanks, aircraft and all that, I just don't feel confident to do that. Right? I've done it plenty of times on a complicated plastic model, but working on metal is very different. I will be using more lacquer paints like I normally do, so I'm guessing that's going to give me at least a fair bit of hardness and all that, and at least a good protective layer to the paint. So that's sort of my sort of project in terms of actually, just getting that sort of GS sort of DCC'd with sound and all that. I just wanted to sort of talk about this first, because it's sort of not just for me to catalog it, but it's also for you guys just to sort of watch me sort of screw up on this beautiful GS. At least I've got a clue of what I'm doing, and sort of get around to at least hoping and getting it nicely running on my layout. I really do hope I can really pull this off, and I do think I do have at least the skills to do it. One other thing I will say is, for some strange reason, I know this is super relevant at the moment, but I've got no idea, but looking at my Southern Pacific oil tender, it does really remind me of the ones on the Niagaras. Actually, it really does, actually, now looking at it even more. But overall, yeah. In terms of other stuff I will be working on, which is recently, I've got this, a third gas turbine, and I've also got the U50C. It's not U50, U50C. I've just got a regular U50. What I'm going to be doing is also maybe doing a weathering guide. I've done it on a simple Burlington Northern hopper car, but I do genuinely think this would be a really nice contender to have some beautiful weathering on it. So I've got the phase 2 of the gas turbines by a third, and it's one of the ones that comes in a really cool like Union Pacific box. Pretty sweet if you ask me. So I'm pretty excited to hopefully get this nicely weathered and sort of put out a bit of a tutorial on how I do some locomotive weathering. With these ones, I will probably be varnishing it and using some of the lacquers and all that, just to make these get those ultra silver bogies and all that. I can promise you in real life, they were never that silvery. Alright. I know there might be some guy, you know, like if you've ever been on like a model aircraft section, will be like, oh, no section chief has ever let an aircraft flown that filthy and all that. Guarantee you, right? I can definitely guarantee you, right? Those bogies, right? Were never that silver. Maybe on the Santa Fe's, right? On the Santa Fe like passenger trains, Union Pacific passenger trains, cool. Not on a freight gas turbine. No way in hell would someone be actually be having it that silver. So that's also on the agenda. And I will also be putting out another weathering video on me weathering my Pennsylvanian interlocking station. The reason why is because I feel like I put it off too much, so that's on the schedule. And yeah, overall, just pretty excited to do that. I know you probably were looking forward to another review this weekend, but I think it's nice to sort of just change a bit of the subject and talk about what's coming up next. We've also got recently a new Union Pacific SE70 Ace. Pretty sweet. It's probably the one of the more modern locomotives I do have on my railroad. I do have a CSX intermount, and I think it's the TF4 GVOs. And I've got on order, I don't know when they're going to ship it, is the Lombard Hobbies. I've recently ordered the SD70 ACUs. I've been really, I don't know why, you know, like when you start out a hobby, you know, you go down a weird path and you never expect it. For me, that's Canadian Pacific. And I'm not really sure why I've fallen for Canadian Pacific this much, but honestly, that Canadian Pacific Heritage Scheme on the ACU, oh, sweet. And I am hoping to pre-order a beautiful, some of the military heritage ones, just because of, like, you know, great-grandfather was at D-Day, my grandfather was in the Navy, and honestly, those military heritage ones, they look fantastic. You know, I really can't deny how good they look. And honestly, all praise to those who, you know, have been in the services. I have. I'm considering even joining back up. Just want to at least get a couple things done before I even plan that. Just sort of get my life a bit more in order again. But overall, pretty excited where to go with all this. And I'm pretty sure you guys are too. You know, a lot of trains, they never seem to get weathered, and I'm always excited to sort of weather mine. You know, at first it was a massive fear of weathering of a lot of these locomotives because, you know, all you see at the start of the day is just how expensive they are. But when you do, you know, get used to sort of weathering your boxcars first, I do recommend Atlas and some of the cheaper pre-owned Earth for this, because you don't feel so bad about, you know, weathering those. But yeah, overall, I think it's a great experience. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jamie, and today what we are doing is just gonna be going through a bit of a start of a project. I just wanted to sort of catalog this because, well, for some people who might be interested in getting into brass trains, and overall, you know, these days they are popping up on eBay pretty cheap and pretty affordable. This one I got, it was a little bit more expensive, but it was still half the price of what a Broadway is. Now, when you factor in putting it, the work and all that, it's probably going to come out the same. But overall, it's a very detailed model, right? You can't deny, looking at even, you know, all the details on it, it looks kind of right. And overall, I can't really shame it for it. So, this journey is me going to be repainting it. I will be repainting it black and the silver. I'll attach a photo on screen of which one I want to do. So I'm going to be doing, I believe, 4434 GS4 Southern Pacific lines. So that's the ones with the black and the silver front, and the actual, not firebox, you know, the bit at the front, right? The bit that's always painted silver. So why am I doing this, actually? Because looking at it, yes, it will need to be converted to DCC. However, this is marked as a GS6. This is not a GS6. When I bought it, it was written up as a GS5, but when you search up 4463, it looks like a GS6 until you realize, well, it doesn't have the Mars light on it. So yeah, what I bought was a Sunset Models GS5. So as you can guess, the livery is already painted wrong from the start, right? So the fact that it's black, it's got the wrong numbers, you know, not a great start there. So what I'm going to be doing is sort of repainting it back to factory black, silver, and renumbering it as 443. Sorry about that bit of a time jump there. So one of the other things I will be sort of coming out next week, which is the Proto 2000 video. It's ones where I compare the SD7 to the Broadway ones, just because recently I sort of noticed there's been a couple of SD7s on eBay, and I just sort of want to, you know, discuss about which ones I would personally want to get. I am looking at maybe getting some of the new Walters SD9s for Southern Pacific, just because, look, let's say I do like how the SP light package looks. I find it pretty interesting, and plus it's something a bit different, and overall, just something to be talked about. And this is something I do want to sort of discuss, which is this bad boy, the AC4400. Now, I'm not going to sort of do a review here at the moment, but I am going to definitely be doing a review because I've got my eye on the Genesis ones, and I'm tempted to maybe get one of them at the start of next year. Depends on how everything goes. But in my opinion, we're gonna see sort of the big jump between the if the RTR ones are actually worth any good, because at the moment, looking up on especially my side of eBay, there is a lot of these, right? There is the Union Pacific ones, there's a couple of Canadian Pacific ones, and a lot of the Sun Pacific ones. So it sort of gives you a sort of an idea of which ones to go for. Now, these ones, from my understanding, don't have any specific road details. So, you know, if you want a specific Southern Pacific one, you know, we're gonna, unfortunately, not gonna have to do that there. I mean, obviously, it's a ready-to-run one, and there are already a few things, you know, off the bat I could talk about, but I'm gonna leave that for the review on Saturday next week. I've actually got a few things definitely planned. So next Wednesday will be the video on about the GS4s, about me sort of getting that prepped and for me to do a DCC installation. So we're gonna fully strip it like I've already done. And what we're also going to do is make sure every bit of that black is all gone. And get it primed. And the other thing is cut a hole in the tender to allow me to put the tender DCC in. Now, I'm sure some people aren't going to be very happy about that, but it's the way I've decided to do it. And I think out of all of the other choices, I think it's the smartest one, to be honest. The other thing is what else are we going to be coming up with? So I've actually pretty much made a bit of a schedule coming up. I'll definitely sort of publish that coming up. That way you guys sort of have a clue of what's coming up. And just so that way I sort of don't get myself bogged down and sort of going, oh, what do I do for Saturday? It's all sort of planned out and everything like that. But yeah. Obviously, there might be a video that I want to push a bit forward, so I think the Ethereum one definitely should be going up a bit forward, just because you're going to see a lot of people sort of sell off their older Ethereum ones for the newer Genesis ones. So, you know, are they a good bargain? That's always going to be a good question to tell. And I will also be doing another one of the Versus episodes, just because I traded a new locomotive for something quite interesting. I traded one of my Australian ones for an SD60, a Broadway Limited Blue Line. I've never tried some of the Blue Line ones, so we're going to get into depth about that. And it's a C30-7. I've already got the Atlas one, so we're going to sort of talk about which one's a bit better there. I have a feeling it's going to be a Broadway one, but the question is, you know, at the end of the day, if they are going to be about equal price, what's a better deal? The other thing is what else was I going to get? Oh, that's it, Jeep 38-2. So that's a Proto 2000 one. Obviously, you and I know Proto 2000, you're not going to have any issues there, right? Straight away, we all know it's going to be a good deal. How much of a good deal is going to be a good question to ask, because at the moment there are many Jeep 38s on the market where, you know, either you can get, I think, you know, a pre-owned brass one for pretty cheap prices these days, and if you are willing to put in the work, get it all DCC'd, you know, that is a choice. Or even the Atlas ones I've got a couple of Conrail ones, so that's going to be definitely something to discuss there. But yeah, I'll definitely get that published, that sort of scheduled in the comment section of this video, and that way it's a bit clear on what we're sort of getting into. I do realize, unfortunately, I may be releasing the schedule according to my time, which is Australian days, so move that. So I'll try and shift it one day forward, just so everyone's a bit clearer of what we actually are. In speaking all that, I think that's sort of a good update for the next 2 months. Just want to say thank you to my subscribers. At the time of this video, I think I'm at 68 subscribers. I know you shouldn't really keep score, but honestly, it just makes me proud, and honestly, you guys help motivate me to actually do these videos, you know. Seeing the sort of questions, the support, you know, some people ask, you know, I really appreciate it. And honestly, I would like to, you know, if other people, you know, just ask questions, you know. I always love having a good conversation, especially about trains. Definitely trains. The other thing is, I am probably going to start making a little bit of a documentary series on the Pennsylvania Electric. So I'm waiting on a book to arrive, but what I'm going to sort of discuss there is sort of go through how we started to how it ended. So we're going to go through the P5s, the Rs, and the GG1s, especially the GG1s. You can't talk about Pennsylvania Electrics without GG1s. So that's going to be a pretty exciting one to do. And we're also going to talk about, you know, hopefully I can get a little bit more research into what sort of came after the GG1s. I mean, it just seems a bit surprising to me that for how good the GG1 is, nobody really, you know, made an attempt to replace it, because by the time, you know, the 50s came along, the GG1 was already, 25, 30 years old. So it's kind of a bit surprising nobody, you know, attempted to make something better. So we're going to sort of go into that later on. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. If you've got any other questions you want to ask me about the process of doing my brass or anything like that, it will sort of be broken up, and I might sort of add in an extra video a week, you know, just because, you know, if I'm feeling up to it and get everything done, I might do an extra video a week. But yeah, thank you for watching this video, and good night.